The sugar crystals gleamed under the kitchen lights like tiny diamonds as I sprinkled them over the buttercream frosting. My fingers, stained with food coloring and smelling of vanilla, worked meticulously to create the delicate sugar flowers that would adorn the top tier. This cake had to be perfect, not just good, but flawless, the kind of perfection that commanded top dollar. "Mommy, can I have the spoon?" Lily asked, her small voice breaking through my concentration. She stood beside me in her pink pajamas, dark curls framing her cherubic face. A miniature version of me, except for the eyes. Those were all her father's, a reminder I didn't need. "Just one lick, sweetheart, then it's bedtime," I said, handing her the mixing spoon with remnants of buttercream. "Remember, we have a big day tomorrow. This cake is going to help us catch up on rent." Our apartment was small, the kitchen barely accommodating my baking equipment. But what it lacked in space, I made up for in determination. 3 months behind on rent, electricity bills piling up, and Lily needed new winter clothes. Jake, my ex, had disappeared 6 months ago, with what little savings we had, leaving nothing but debts and empty promises. Baking had always been my escape, my passion. Now it was our lifeline. "Will we have enough for the zoo after?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with hope as she licked the frosting. The question tightened my chest. "We'll see, baby. First things first." After tucking Lily in and reading her favorite story about princesses who saved themselves, I returned to the kitchen. The digital clock on the microwave glowed 11:42 p.m. as I worked into the night, perfecting each detail of the 3-tiered masterpiece. This commission for the Rossi restaurant's anniversary celebration was my chance to showcase my talents to the city's elite, people who could afford to pay premium prices for custom cakes. Sleep tugged at my eyelids, but I pushed through. By 3 a.m., I stepped back to admire my creation, an elegant display of craftsmanship with hand-painted gold accents and sugar flowers cascading down the sides. Satisfied but exhausted, I finally allowed myself to collapse onto my worn sofa for a few hours of sleep. Morning came too quickly. The alarm blared at 7 a.m., and my body ached in protest as I dragged myself to the shower. The hot water ran out halfway through, a harsh reminder of our precarious situation. "Lily, breakfast," I called, dressing in my only presentable outfit, a simple black dress that had seen better days. I applied minimal makeup, just enough to hide the dark circles under my eyes. Transporting the cake was a nerve-wracking affair. I secured it in a specialized box, praying it would survive the bus ride to Rossi's, an upscale Italian restaurant in the heart of the city. Lily held my free hand, unusually quiet, perhaps sensing my anxiety. "Remember, sweetie, best behavior at the restaurant. This is very important for us." She nodded solemnly, clutching her worn teddy bear. "I'll be super good, Mommy." The bus was crowded, forcing us to stand. Each stop, each turn made my heart race as I stabilized the cake box. When we finally arrived at our destination, relief washed over me, only to be quickly replaced by intimidation as I gazed up at the elegant facade of Rossi's. The restaurant wasn't open to the public yet, but staff bustled about, preparing for the evening's celebration. A hostess with immaculate makeup and a tight bun regarded us with poorly concealed disdain. "Delivery entrance is around back," she said dismissively. "I'm not a delivery person," I explained, struggling to maintain my dignity. "I'm Emma Parker. I was commissioned to create the anniversary cake by Mr. Rossi himself." Her eyebrows arched in surprise, and she glanced at my simple dress, then at Lily, before picking up a phone. After a brief conversation, her demeanor shifted slightly. "Wait here, please." The restaurant's interior was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and the lingering scent of expensive perfume and truffle oil. Lily's eyes widened as she took in the opulence around us. I felt painfully out of place, acutely aware of my chipped nail polish and scuffed shoes. "Mommy, it's like a castle," Lily whispered in awe. Before I could respond, a door opened, and a slender man in an impeccable suit approached. "Miss Parker? I'm Paolo, Mr. Rossi's assistant. The cake, please." His tone was polite, but carried an undercurrent of authority that made me uncomfortable. I carefully handed over the cake box, fighting the urge to check one last time that everything was perfect. "Mr. Rossi would like to inspect it personally before payment. Please wait here." As Paolo disappeared with my creation, anxiety gnawed at my stomach. This payment would determine whether we kept our apartment or ended up staying with my reluctant sister and her judgmental husband. Lily tugged at my dress. "I need the bathroom, Mommy." The hostess pointed us toward a hallway, and I gratefully escaped the scrutinizing eyes of the staff. After helping Lily, I took a moment to splash water on my face and gather my composure. When we returned to the main area, the atmosphere had changed. Staff moved with increased urgency, straightening already straight place settings and adjusting flower arrangements. The air crackled with tension. "He's coming," I heard someone whisper, and everyone seemed to stand a little taller. I assumed they meant Mr. Rossi, the restaurant owner who'd commissioned the cake. I straightened my posture and smoothed down Lily's hair, preparing to appear professional despite my exhaustion. The front doors swung open, and the sunlight silhouetted a tall figure, flanked by two broad-shouldered men. As they stepped into the restaurant, the initial glare subsided, and I got my first glimpse of the man everyone seemed to fear and respect. He wasn't what I expected. Younger than I'd imagined, perhaps in his early 30s, with dark hair styled impeccably, and a face that belonged in a high-fashion magazine. He wore a charcoal suit that I could tell cost more than my annual rent, tailored to fit his athletic frame perfectly, but it was his eyes that caught me, sharp, observant, the color of whiskey with an intensity that made my breath catch. This wasn't Mr. Rossi. The elderly restaurant owner I'd spoken with on the phone couldn't be this commanding presence making everyone in the vicinity stand at attention. The man scanned the restaurant, his gaze calculating and cold until it landed on me and Lily. Something shifted in his expression. A flicker of curiosity, perhaps, before he turned to address Paolo, who had materialized beside him, nervously displaying my cake. "Mr. Castellano," Paolo began, his voice several pitches higher than when he'd spoken to me. "The cake for tonight's celebration." Castellano. The name rippled through my consciousness, triggering a vague recollection of newspaper headlines and hushed conversations. Dominic Castellano, the businessman with alleged ties to organized crime, whose name was spoken in whispers across the city. He circled the cake, examining it from every angle with the scrutiny of someone accustomed to finding flaws. I held my breath, suddenly aware that my financial salvation rested in the hands of a man rumored to be dangerous. Who made this? His voice was deep, with a slight accent I couldn't place. Paolo gestured toward me, and those piercing eyes returned to my face. I felt pinned in place, unable to look away as he studied me with unnerving intensity. "You created this?" Disbelief colored his tone. I nodded, finding my voice. "Yes, I'm Emma Parker." He approached slowly, like a predator assessing prey. The distance between us diminished until I could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle, with notes of sandalwood and amber. "It's exquisite work," he said finally. "The detail is exceptional." Relief flooded through me, but before I could thank him, Lily peeked out from behind my dress where she'd been hiding. "I helped with the sugar flowers," she announced proudly, apparently immune to the intimidating aura that surrounded this man. His gaze dropped to my daughter, and something unreadable passed across his features. Surprise, curiosity, and something else I couldn't identify. He crouched down to Lily's level, a movement so unexpected that several staff members exchanged glances. "Did you now?" His voice softened marginally. "They're the best part." Lily beamed, while my maternal instinct screamed to pull her away from him. But before I could act, he straightened and turned to Paolo. "Double the agreed payment, and I want to speak with Ms. Parker privately." Panic fluttered in my chest. "I'm sorry, that's not possible. My daughter and I need to—" "Your daughter can enjoy some gelato in the kitchen while we talk business," he interrupted, his tone making it clear this wasn't a request. "I have a proposition for you." One of his men stepped forward, offering a hand to Lily. "Come on, little one. We've got chocolate and strawberry." To my horror, Lily looked delighted at the prospect. "Can I, Mommy? Please?" Trapped between my daughter's pleading eyes and Castellano's unwavering stare, I reluctantly nodded. "Stay where Paolo can see you, okay?" As Lily was led away, chattering excitedly about ice cream flavors, Castellano gestured toward a private dining area. "Shall we?" Every instinct warned me to grab Lily and run, but the promise of double payment kept me rooted in place. That money could buy us 3 months of security, maybe more. I followed him into the private room, my heart pounding against my ribs. The door closed behind us with a soft click that sounded like a jail cell locking. "Your work is impressive," he began, leaning against an antique desk rather than sitting. "Self-taught?" I nodded, keeping a safe distance between us, mostly. "I took some courses before Lily was born." His eyes never left my face. "And now you support yourself and your daughter with cakes?" The way he said it made my profession sound trivial, and defensiveness flared within me. "It's honest work." A smile curved his lips, not reaching his eyes. I didn't suggest otherwise. He paused, studying me in a way that made me feel transparent. "You're struggling financially." It wasn't a question. Somehow, he had assessed my circumstances with uncomfortable accuracy. "We manage," I replied stiffly. He laughed, a rich sound that contrasted with his intimidating demeanor. "You arrived on public transportation with a 3-tiered masterpiece, wearing a dress that's seen better days, with a child who mentioned the zoo as if it were an unattainable luxury." Managing seems generous. Heat rose to my cheeks. Embarrassment mingled with anger. "I don't see how my financial situation is any of your business, Mr. Castellano." He pushed away from the desk, moving toward me with fluid grace. "It becomes my business when I want something you have." My breath caught. "The cake is already yours. You've paid for it." "I'm not talking about the cake." He stopped directly in front of me, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. "I'm talking about your talent, your skill." The proximity made my skin prickle with awareness. He was overwhelming, not just physically, but in his presence, in the way he commanded the space around him. "I'm hosting an event at my home this weekend," he continued. "An important gathering that requires someone with your particular artistic abilities. I want you to create something spectacular. Price is no object." Relief mingled with suspicion. This was about work, after all. But something in his expression made me hesitate. "I'm not available for commissions this weekend. I have other obligations." His head tilted slightly. "Such as?" "My daughter. Bring her. My home has ample space and staff who can ensure she's entertained while you work." I shook my head. "I don't think that would be appropriate." "I'll pay you $50,000. The figure hit me like a physical blow. $50,000 could change everything. Clear our debts, secure a better apartment, provide stability for Lily that I'd been unable to give her since Jake left. Castellano observed my reaction with satisfaction. "I see we understand each other." "Why me?" I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "There are professional caterers, established bakeries, none with your eye for detail." He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear with a casualness that made me flinch. "And I find I'm intrigued by you, Emma Parker." The way he said my name sent an involuntary shiver down my spine. "This is strictly professional," I clarified, stepping back from his touch. "I would create the desserts for your event, nothing more." Something dangerous flashed in his eyes, a predatory gleam that made my pulse quicken. "Of course, for now." Before I could respond, the door opened, and Lily bounded in with chocolate gelato smeared across her face. The tension in the room dissipated as she launched into an enthusiastic description of the kitchen. "Mommy, they have a fridge as big as our whole kitchen, and Chef Marco let me taste the fancy chocolate from France." Castellano watched her with unusual interest, his expression softening slightly. "Your daughter is charming." I pulled Lily close, protective. "Thank you. We should be going now." "My driver will take you home," he said, retrieving a business card from his pocket. "This has my private number. Call me with your answer by tonight." I accepted the card reluctantly, feeling as though I was making a deal with the devil. "I'll consider it." As we turned to leave, his voice stopped me. "Emma." I looked back, finding his gaze had hardened again. All traces of warmth vanished. "I don't like to be disappointed. I expect to hear from you." The statement hung in the air between us. Not quite a threat, but carrying weight nonetheless. I nodded stiffly and guided Lily out, acutely aware of his eyes following our every move. Outside, a sleek black car with tinted windows waited at the curb. The driver, One of the men who had accompanied Castellano earlier opened the door without a word. "Wow, are we riding in that?" Lily asked excitedly. I hesitated, clutching my purse where the envelope with double my fee now resided. Taking a ride from this man seemed like accepting something I couldn't return. But as rain began to fall, soaking through my thin dress, practicality won over pride. I helped Lily into the luxurious vehicle, sliding in beside her with the strange sensation that I had just made a critical mistake. As the car pulled away from the curb, I caught a glimpse of Castellano watching from the restaurant window, his expression unreadable. The business card seemed to burn in my hand. A ticket to financial salvation, or a path to something far more dangerous than poverty. I had until tonight to decide. The ride home felt surreal. Leather seats softer than any couch I'd ever owned cradled us as the car glided through city streets, insulating us from the chaos outside. Lily bounced excitedly beside me, pointing out landmarks through tinted windows while I clutched Castellano's business card, its embossed lettering pressing into my palm. "Are we rich now, Mommy?" she asked, her innocent question piercing my heart. I tucked a curl behind her ear. "No, sweetheart. This is just a nice man's car taking us home." The scary man with the nice eyes? Children's perception never ceased to amaze me. Yes, that one. Our apartment building looked even shabbier, juxtaposed against the luxury vehicle. The driver, stoic and silent, opened my door and nodded respectfully before I could thank him. As we stepped out, I noticed our landlord, Mr. Peterson, watching from his ground floor window, his perpetual scowl deepening at the sight of the expensive car. Inside our apartment, reality crashed back. The dripping faucet, the crack in the living room ceiling, the secondhand furniture, all stark reminders of our precarious existence. I placed Castellano's card on the kitchen counter and stared at it while Lily changed into play clothes. $50,000. The figure seemed astronomical, almost fictional. It would solve every financial problem we had, with enough left over to start fresh. I could enroll in the pastry program I'd abandoned when I became pregnant. Lily could attend the better school across town. But instinct warned me that Dominic Castellano's interest extended beyond my baking skills. The way he'd looked at me, touched my hair with casual possessiveness. Those weren't the actions of a man seeking a professional arrangement. My phone buzzed with a text from the property management company. Final notice before eviction proceedings begin. Full payment required within 72 hours. I sank onto a kitchen chair, the weight of our situation pressing down on me. My remaining options were dwindling, another loan I couldn't repay, begging my judgmental parents who'd warned me against keeping Lily in the first place, or accepting Castellano's offer. "Mommy, can we have mac and cheese tonight?" Lily appeared in the doorway, clutching her drawing pad. I forced a smile. "Sure, baby." "And guess what? I think we might be able to go to the zoo this weekend after all." Her face lit up, and my decision crystallized. I would accept Castellano's offer, but on my terms. Professional boundaries, clearly defined expectations, and Lily's safety as non-negotiable conditions. That night, after tucking Lily in, I dialed the number on the card. He answered on the first ring, as if he'd been waiting. Emma. The way he said my name made it sound like he already owned it. "I've been expecting your call." I gripped the phone tighter. "I'll do it, but I have conditions." A pause, then a low chuckle. "I'm listening." "This is strictly professional. I'll create desserts for your event, nothing more. I'll bring my daughter, but she stays with me at all times. And I want a contract, something in writing. Your concern for propriety is charming," he replied, amusement evident in his tone. "But unnecessary. I'm a businessman, Emma. I understand the value of clear terms." His words should have reassured me. They didn't. "My driver will collect you tomorrow morning at 9. Pack for the weekend. My estate is an hour outside the city." "The weekend?" I thought. "You'll need time for preparation," he interrupted smoothly. "The event is Sunday evening. You'll have access to a fully equipped kitchen and anything else you require." Before I could argue, he continued. "Bring your daughter. I've arranged suitable accommodations for both of you." His tone softened slightly. "She'll be comfortable, Emma. You have my word." Those last 4 words carried unexpected weight, as if his word meant something significant. Perhaps in his world it did. 9 o'clock, I confirmed. already mentally cataloging what we would need. "Good night, Emma. Sleep well." The line went dead, leaving me with the distinct impression that I'd just crossed a threshold from which there would be no easy return. Morning came quickly. I packed with methodical precision. Clothes for Lily and me, essential baking tools I couldn't work without, Lily's favorite stuffed bear, and the sketchbook where I drafted my designs. The car arrived precisely at 9, the same silent driver nodding in greeting. "Ready for our adventure?" I asked Lily, trying to infuse my voice with an enthusiasm I didn't feel. She nodded eagerly, clutching her backpack filled with coloring books and small toys. "Will there be horses? Rich people always have horses in movies." "I'm not sure, sweetheart. We'll have to see." The drive took us through gradually changing landscapes, urban sprawl giving way to affluent suburbs, then to rolling countryside dotted with estates hidden behind gates and hedges. Finally, the car turned onto a private road flanked by ancient oaks, their branches forming a canopy overhead. As we rounded the final curve, Castellano's home came into view. Calling it a house would be like calling the ocean a puddle. "It's a castle," Lily gasped, pressing her face against the window. The estate was a modernized manor house, all clean lines and glass merged with traditional stone. Immaculate gardens stretched in every direction, and yes, in the distance, stables where horses roamed in fenced pastures. The car stopped at the main entrance, where Paolo from the restaurant waited on the steps. He opened the door with a practiced smile. "Ms. Parker, welcome to Villa Castellano. Mr. Castellano is attending to business matters, but asked me to show you to your accommodations and the kitchen facilities." I stepped out, keeping Lily close as I took in the imposing structure. "Thank you, Paolo." He led us through an entrance hall with soaring ceilings and minimalist decor that somehow managed to convey extreme wealth through its very restraint. Lily's eyes widened at a massive aquarium built into one wall, tropical fish in electric blues and yellows darting among coral formations. "The guest wing is this way," Paolo explained, guiding us down a corridor lined with what looked like original artwork. "Mr. Castellano thought you might prefer privacy." He opened double doors to reveal a suite that was larger than our entire apartment. A sitting area with plush furniture faced floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens. 2 bedrooms connected to the main space, each with its own bathroom. "This is where we're staying?" I asked, unable to keep the disbelief from my voice. Paolo nodded. "Mr. Castellano requested you be made comfortable." He gestured to a door across the hall. "The kitchen designated for your use is directly opposite. It's been stocked according to the requirements you mentioned on the phone. If you need anything else, please use the house phone to contact staff." As Paolo excused himself, Lily ran from room to room, exploring with unrestrained delight. "Mommy, the bathtub has jets. And look at the bed. It's bigger than our whole bedroom." Her excitement was contagious, momentarily distracting me from the unease that had followed me since meeting Castellano. I unpacked our things, hanging our modest clothes in a closet designed for a wardrobe 10 times the size. Curious about the kitchen, I crossed the hall. The space was a baker's dream: professional-grade equipment, marble countertops, and a pantry stocked with every ingredient I could possibly need, including rare vanilla from Madagascar and chocolate from small batch producers I'd only read about. I ran my fingers over the gleaming surfaces, ideas already forming. For the next few hours, I lost myself in planning and preparation, sketching designs while measuring and mixing components that needed to chill overnight. Lily colored quietly at a corner table, occasionally helping with simple tasks. The sun was beginning to set when a knock at the kitchen door interrupted my workflow. I opened it to find a woman in her 50s, with a kind face and practical clothing. "Ms. Parker? I'm Mrs. Winters, the housekeeper. I've come to see if you and your daughter would like dinner served in your suite, or if you'd prefer to join Mr. Castellano in the main dining room." The thought of facing Castellano across a dinner table sent a flutter of anxiety through me. "Our suite would be fine, thank you." She smiled understandingly. "Very good. It will be delivered shortly. Mr. Castellano also asked me to inform you that he would like to discuss the event details with you after your daughter is settled for the night. He suggests the library at 9, if that's convenient. It wasn't a request so much as a scheduled appointment. That's fine." After a dinner more exquisite than anything we'd eaten in months, I bathed Lily and tucked her into the enormous bed that had delighted her so much. She fell asleep quickly, exhausted from the day's excitement. I changed into the nicest outfit I'd packed, a simple blue dress that had survived from my pre-motherhood days, and followed the directions Mrs. Winters had provided to the library. Each corridor revealed new glimpses of tasteful opulence, the kind of wealth that didn't need to announce itself. The library door stood partially open. I knocked lightly before entering a 2-story room lined with bookshelves. A fire crackled in a stone fireplace, casting dancing shadows across leather-bound volumes and illuminating the man who stood before it, a crystal tumbler of amber liquid in his hand. Dominic Castellano had exchanged his business suit for dark trousers and a charcoal sweater that somehow looked even more expensive than his formal wear. The casual attire did nothing to diminish his commanding presence. He turned as I entered, his gaze traveling over me in a slow assessment that made my skin warm. "Emma, thank you for joining me." I remained near the door, maintaining distance. "You wanted to discuss the event." A smile played at the corner of his mouth, direct, as always. He gestured to a seating area near the fire. "Please sit. Would you like a drink?" "No, thank you." I perched on the edge of a leather armchair, while he settled on the sofa opposite, radiating the casual confidence of a man accustomed to controlling every situation. "Sunday's gathering is a private affair," he began. 40 guests, primarily business associates, and a few family members. "I want something memorable, a centerpiece dessert that reflects sophistication without pretension, accompanied by smaller offerings for variety." His description was surprisingly specific, revealing a man with defined tastes rather than someone simply throwing money at an impression of luxury. I nodded, professional mode engaging. "I've been working on designs based on what Paolo mentioned. I was thinking a main showpiece with architectural elements, perhaps inspired by Italian influences, with supporting desserts that play with contrasting flavors and textures." As I outlined my vision, his attention remained fixed on me with an intensity that was both flattering and unnerving. When I finished, he leaned forward slightly. "You're passionate about your craft." It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. "It's the one thing I've always been good at." "I doubt that's the only thing," he replied, his voice dropping lower. Heat crept up my neck. "Mr. Castellano." "Dominic," he corrected. "If we're to work together, I'd prefer you use my name." "Dominic," I conceded, the name feeling intimate on my tongue. "I want to be clear about expectations. I'm here to create desserts for your event, that's all." He studied me for a long moment, firelight reflecting in his eyes. "Your daughter mentioned her father earlier today to Mrs. Winters. She said he went away." The abrupt change of subject caught me off guard. "That's not relevant to our arrangement." "Everything about you is relevant to me, Emma." The statement hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. I stood, suddenly needing distance. "It's getting late. I should check on Lily." He rose as well, moving with that fluid grace that belied his powerful frame. "Of course. But before you go," he crossed to a desk and retrieved a manila envelope. "Your contract as requested, and an advance." I accepted the envelope, our fingers brushing momentarily. "Thank you." "Rest well, Emma. Tomorrow will be a busy day." His gaze held mine, something possessive lurking in their depths. "And Emma? My home is secure, but I'd advise against wandering the grounds after dark. Not all areas are well lit." The warning carried an undercurrent I couldn't quite interpret, concern for my safety or a reminder that I was in his territory now. "Good night, Dominic," I said, retreating toward the door. "Emma." His voice stopped me at the threshold. When I turned, his expression had softened almost imperceptibly. "Your daughter is welcome to visit the stables tomorrow. I've arranged for someone to show her the horses." The unexpected thoughtfulness caught me by surprise. She'd love that. "Thank you." As I made my way back through the labyrinthine corridors, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being drawn into Dominic Castellano's world, a world where his generosity and danger existed in equal measure, and the line between opportunity and trap was blurring with each passing moment. Morning sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting golden patterns across the plush carpet. For a disorienting moment, I forgot where I was. Then reality rushed back, the estate, Castellano, the contract I'd reviewed by lamplight after our meeting. The contract had been surprisingly straightforward. $50,000 for my services, half paid in advance, half upon completion. The language was formal but clear, outlining exactly what I'd requested, a professional arrangement with explicit boundaries. Only one detail had given me pause. A confidentiality clause, prohibiting me from discussing anything I might see or hear during my stay at Villa Castellano. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Lily, who had migrated to my room sometime during the night. After a quick shower in the marble bathroom, a luxury that almost made me forget our problems, I dressed in practical clothes suitable for a day of baking. The kitchen awaited me, pristine and ready. I lost myself in the familiar rhythm of measuring, mixing, and creating. By mid-morning, the foundations for my centerpiece were taking shape. A three-tiered masterpiece with architectural elements inspired by classical Italian buildings, each tier representing a different flavor profile. There you are. The deep voice startled me. Dominic stood in the doorway, casual in dark jeans and a fitted shirt that did little to conceal his athletic build. He looked younger somehow, less intimidating than in his business attire, though no less commanding. "I've been here for hours," I replied, wiping flour from my hands with a towel. He approached, examining my work with genuine interest. Impressive progress. His gaze shifted to me, lingering on a smudge of chocolate on my cheek. "You have..." He reached out, his thumb brushing my skin to remove the chocolate, the contact brief but electric. I stepped back, my pulse quickening. "Is there something you needed?" A smile played at his lips, as if my reaction amused him. "I came to see if your daughter might like to visit the stables this morning. One of the mares had a foal last week." As if summoned by the mention, Lily appeared at the connecting door to our suite, rubbing sleep from her eyes. She froze at the sight of Dominic, suddenly shy. "Good morning, Lily," he said, his voice gentler than I'd heard before. "Do you like horses?" She nodded, moving to press against my side. "Are they big horses?" "Some are, but the baby is small." He crouched to her level, his imposing frame somehow less threatening in the gesture. "Would you like to see them?" Lily looked up at me, silently asking permission. Despite my reservations about Dominic, I couldn't deny her this experience. "You can go, sweetie. I need to work on these cakes anyway." "Mrs. Winters will accompany her," Dominic added, correctly interpreting my hesitation. "She has grandchildren Lily's age." Relief washed through me. "Thank you." 20 minutes later, Lily departed with the kindly housekeeper, chattering excitedly about horses and foals. I returned to my work, only to find Dominic still there, watching me with unreadable eyes. "You don't have business matters to attend to?" I asked, uncomfortable under his scrutiny. "I am attending to business matters." He leaned against the counter, too close for comfort. "My most valued guests will experience your creations tomorrow. That makes your work my priority today." I continued piping delicate chocolate structures, trying to ignore his presence. "I work better alone." "I've upset you," he observed. "That wasn't my intention." Something in his tone made me look up. For a brief moment, vulnerability flickered across his features, so fleeting I might have imagined it. "I'm not upset," I said carefully. "Just focused." He studied me for a moment longer before nodding. "I'll leave you to it then, but I'd like you and Lily to join me for dinner tonight." It wasn't quite a command, but neither was it a request that invited refusal. "All right. 8 o'clock in the main dining room." He straightened, moving toward the door. "And Emma? The blue dress you wore last night, wear it again. It suits you." Before I could formulate a response, he was gone, leaving me unsettled and confused. Was that a compliment or an instruction? With Dominic Castellano, the line between the two seemed perpetually blurred. The day passed in a flurry of activity. Lily returned from the stables bubbling with excitement about the horses, especially the foal she'd been allowed to pet. While she colored at the kitchen table, telling me about her adventures, I continued crafting components for tomorrow's desserts. By late afternoon, exhaustion threatened my concentration. I stretched, working out the kinks in my neck, when a knock at the door revealed Paolo. "Miss Parker, Mr. Castellano thought you might need assistance." He gestured to a young woman behind him. "This is Sophia, one of our pastry assistants. She's at your disposal." Sophia proved to be skilled and efficient, taking over repetitive tasks while I focused on the more intricate elements. With her help, I completed the day's work earlier than expected, leaving time to prepare for dinner. In our suite, I found a package on my bed, a garment box with a note in masculine handwriting. "For tonight. D." My heart raced as I lifted the lid. Inside lay a dress of midnight blue silk, elegant in its simplicity, alongside a smaller box containing a delicate silver bracelet. I should have been offended by the presumption, should have left the gifts untouched. Instead, I found myself running my fingers over the luxurious fabric, imagining how it would feel against my skin. No. This crossed the line I'd drawn. I would wear my own clothes, maintain what little control I had in this unbalanced power dynamic. After helping Lily into her nicest outfit, a floral dress already outgrown at the wrists, I put on the blue dress I'd worn the night before, deliberately ignoring Dominic's gift. I twisted my hair into a simple updo and applied minimal makeup, striving for dignity rather than glamour. "You look pretty, Mommy," Lily said as we left our suite, "like a princess." I squeezed her hand. "And you look like the most beautiful princess of all." The main dining room was intimate despite its size, with a table set for 3 and candles casting a warm glow. Dominic awaited us, rising as we entered. His eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly at my choice of attire, before his expression smoothed into a welcoming smile. "Ladies," he greeted us, moving to pull out chairs for both Lily and me. "I hope you're hungry." Dinner was a surprisingly relaxed affair. Dominic engaged Lily in conversation about the horses, showing genuine interest in her enthusiastic descriptions. He asked questions that made her giggle and glow with the special attention adults rarely afforded children. "Did you enjoy the stables, Lily?" Dominic asked as dessert was served. A simple but elegant panna cotta that made me take mental notes. "Yes. Mrs. Winters said maybe I could see the foal again tomorrow before we leave," she replied, looking to me for confirmation. "We'll see, sweetheart. I'll be very busy preparing for the party." "I've arranged for Mrs. Winters to look after Lily tomorrow," Dominic interjected smoothly. "She's quite taken with your daughter and suggested several activities they might enjoy together." The presumption irritated me. "That's thoughtful, but Lily stays with me." "Mommy," Lily whined, "I want to see the horses again." Dominic observed our exchange with interest. "Perhaps a compromise, Mrs. Winters can bring Lily to the kitchen periodically so you can check on her, but she won't be confined to watching you work all day." Put that way, his suggestion seemed reasonable, even considerate. "We'll try it," I conceded, not missing the triumphant glint in his eye. As dinner concluded, a staff member appeared at Dominic's side, whispering something urgent. His expression hardened, the charming host instantly replaced by the dangerous man I'd glimpsed at our first meeting. "Excuse me," he said, standing abruptly. "A business matter requires my attention. Please, enjoy your evening." His gaze lingered on me. "Perhaps the library again, after Lily is asleep?" It wasn't really a question. "Perhaps," I replied noncommittally. Once he'd gone, I took Lily back to our suite, bathed her, and read until she fell asleep. For nearly an hour afterward, I debated whether to go to the library. Professional boundaries demanded I decline the implicit invitation. Yet curiosity, and something else I wasn't ready to examine, pulled me toward him. In the end, I went, telling myself it was to discuss tomorrow's event. The library was empty when I arrived, the fire burning low. I browsed the shelves, surprised to find well-worn classics alongside modern literature, books that had actually been read, not just displayed for appearance. "You came." I turned to find Dominic in the doorway, his expression unreadable. He'd removed his jacket, and his shirt was open at the collar, revealing a glimpse of tanned skin. "I wanted to confirm the timeline for tomorrow," I said, maintaining the pretense of professionalism. He approached, stopping closer than necessary. "The timeline is unchanged. Guests arrive at 7. His eyes searched mine. "That's not why you came." Heat rose to my cheeks. I don't know what you mean. You didn't wear the dress. The abrupt change of subject caught me off guard. It wouldn't have been appropriate, because I gave it to you? He circled me slowly, like a predator assessing prey, or because you feared what wearing it might signify. I held my ground, refusing to be intimidated, both. He stopped before me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. Your honesty is refreshing. Most people lie to me out of fear or greed. I'm not most people. No, he agreed softly. You're not. His hand rose to touch my cheek, the contact gentle despite the strength I knew those hands possessed. Why are you raising your daughter alone, Emma? The question, unexpected and personal, made me step back. That's not relevant to our arrangement. Everything about you is relevant to me, he repeated from our previous conversation. I make it my business to know who enters my home, who I trust. The way he said trust carried weight beyond the word itself. My ex-husband left 6 months ago. Took our savings, left our debts, end of story. Anger flashed in Dominic's eyes. He abandoned his child? He was never much of a father, I admitted, surprised by my candor. Always chasing get-rich-quick schemes, disappearing for days. Lily barely notices he's gone now. And you? Do you miss him? I laughed, the sound hollow even to my own ears. I miss having help with the bills. I miss not being afraid we'll end up homeless. But him? No. Dominic moved to the sidebar, pouring 2 drinks. He handed one to me, and this time I accepted, welcoming the burn of expensive whiskey. Your ex-husband, he said carefully. What was his name? Something in his tone set off warning bells. Why do you want to know? His smile didn't reach his eyes. Mere curiosity. Jake Parker, I replied after a moment's hesitation. Though he might be using a different name now, he was inventive with identities when it suited him. Dominic nodded thoughtfully. And where did he go, do you think? He mentioned Florida once, some friend with connections. I shrugged. It doesn't matter. He's gone, and we're better for it. Yes, Dominic agreed, his voice hardening. Some men don't deserve the families they abandon. The conversation had taken an unsettling turn. I set down my glass, suddenly eager to return to the safety of our suite. It's getting late. Tomorrow will be demanding. Of course. He didn't move to stop me, but his voice followed me to the door. Emma, about the dress. I paused, looking back at him. Yes? It wasn't a purchase. It belonged to my sister. Something vulnerable flashed across his face. She died 5 years ago. You remind me of her. Your determination, your fierce protection of your daughter, the revelation stunned me into silence. This wasn't the manipulation I'd expected, but something raw and genuine that didn't fit my image of the dangerous businessman. I'm sorry for your loss, I managed finally, and for misinterpreting your gesture. He nodded once, a dismissal and acceptance combined. Good night, Emma. I returned to our suite, my mind churning with contradictions. The man I'd met at the restaurant, cold, calculating, intimidating, seemed at odds with the one who spoke with such tenderness about his sister, who delighted my daughter with stories of horses, who noticed the smudge of chocolate on my cheek. As I slipped into bed, I realized with unsettling clarity that Dominic Castellano was becoming more than a temporary employer. He was becoming a dangerous temptation. Not just because of his wealth or power, but because beneath his controlled exterior lay depths I hadn't expected to find. Tomorrow would bring the culmination of our professional arrangement. After that, we would return to our separate worlds, his of privilege and power, mine of struggle and survival. It was better that way, safer. So why did the thought fill me with a strange sense of loss? I closed my eyes, trying to silence the questions circling my mind. In my dreams, Dominic watched me with those penetrating eyes, always just out of reach, always seeing more than I wanted to reveal. Dawn broke with a soft golden light that filtered through gauzy curtains, rousing me from fitful sleep. Today was the day, the event, the culmination of my work here, and then back to reality. The thought should have brought relief, not the hollow ache that settled in my chest. I slipped from bed, careful not to wake Lily, and padded to the kitchen in borrowed slippers. To my surprise, coffee awaited me, steam rising from a porcelain cup beside a note in now familiar handwriting, "For strength on your big day." The thoughtfulness of the gesture made me smile despite myself. When had he arranged this? Had he anticipated my early start? The kitchen quickly became my sanctuary as I assembled components prepared over the past 2 days. Mrs. I. Winters arrived at 9 to collect Lily, who went willingly, excited about another visit to the stables. Throughout the morning, staff appeared periodically, offering assistance, delivering fresh ingredients, providing meals I barely touched. Of Dominic, there was no sign. By mid-afternoon, my masterpiece neared completion. A 3-tiered creation with architectural details reminiscent of Italian palazzos, decorated with hand-painted gold accents and sugar flowers that appeared to cascade naturally down the sides. Surrounding smaller desserts complemented the centerpiece: chocolate truffles infused with rare spices, delicate fruit tartlets, and pastries filled with airy cream. I stepped back, critically assessing my work as footsteps approached from behind. Extraordinary. Dominic's voice sent a shiver down my spine. I turned to find him impeccably dressed in a tuxedo that emphasized his broad shoulders and lean waist. His hair was styled back from his face, accentuating the sharp angles of his jaw and cheekbones. He looked dangerous and devastatingly handsome. "Thank you," I managed, suddenly conscious of my disheveled appearance, hair escaping its pins, apron speckled with chocolate, flour dusting my arms. His gaze moved from my creations to my face, lingering with an intensity that made my pulse quicken. "You've exceeded my expectations, Emma." And I rarely say that. The compliment warmed me more than it should have. The environment helped. This kitchen is a dream. It could be yours. The statement hung between us, laden with implication. Before I could respond, he continued. "Guests will arrive in 2 hours. I've arranged for a dress to be delivered to your suite." He raised a hand as I began to protest. "Not my sister's. Something new, chosen by my personal shopper. Consider it part of your professional attire for the evening." "I don't need... I want you present when your creations are unveiled," he interrupted. "These people appreciate beauty and craftsmanship. They should meet the artist." The request was reasonable enough, though his motivation remained unclear. Was it professional courtesy or something more personal? "And Lily, Mrs. Winters has offered to watch movies with her in your suite. They've apparently discovered a mutual love of animated princesses." His lip quirked in a half-smile. "Unless you'd prefer her to attend? Children aren't common at these gatherings, but exceptions can be made." I shook my head. "No, that's perfect. Thank you." He checked his watch. Platinum, I noticed. Understated, but undoubtedly worth more than 6 months of our rent. "I have matters to attend to before guests arrive. I'll send someone to escort you down at 8:30. As he turned to leave, I called after him. "Dominic?" He paused, looking back with raised eyebrows. "Thank you. For the opportunity, I gestured vaguely, encompassing the kitchen, the estate, everything he'd provided. Something softened in his expression. "The pleasure has been mine, Emma." The words carried a weight beyond professional courtesy, hovering in the space between us before he departed. In our suite, I found not 1 dress, but 3, each more elegant than anything I'd ever owned, along with a note suggesting I choose whichever I preferred. After a long shower to wash away the day's efforts, I stood before them, overwhelmed by the options. The first, a deep emerald silk with a modest neckline and flowing skirt, was beautiful but safe. The second, black with intricate beading, seemed too formal, too much like trying to blend with the wealthy guests. The third, a deep burgundy with a fitted bodice and off-shoulder design, caught my eye. Elegant but distinctive, like something a confident woman would choose. I reached for the burgundy, holding it against myself in the mirror. The color complemented my fair skin and dark hair, making my eyes appear more green than their usual hazel. "Pretty," Lily exclaimed from the doorway, where she stood with Mrs. Winters. "Like a movie star dress," Mrs. Winters smiled warmly. "You'll outshine everyone, dear." An hour later, With my hair swept up and minimal makeup enhancing my features, I barely recognized the woman in the mirror. The dress fit perfectly, as if made for me. A subtle scent clung to my skin. An expensive perfume I'd found on the vanity that smelled of jasmine and something deeper, more mysterious. "You're beautiful, Mommy," Lily said solemnly as I kissed her goodnight. "Are you going to a ball like Cinderella?" I smiled, smoothing her hair. "Something like that. Be good for Mrs. Winters, okay?" At precisely 8:30, a knock announced my escort, Paolo, looking surprised at my transformation. "Ms. Parker, you look lovely. Mr. Castellano is waiting." Nerves fluttered in my stomach as we descended the grand staircase. Music drifted from the main hall, along with the murmur of conversations and occasional laughter. Paolo led me not to the crowded gathering, but to a quieter room adjacent to it, where Dominic stood conversing with an older man. Dominic looked up as I entered, his conversation faltering mid-sentence. His gaze traveled slowly from my face to the dress and back again, an appreciation so tangible it felt like a physical caress. "Excuse me, Uncle," he said to his companion, not taking his eyes from me. "My guest of honor has arrived." The older man followed his gaze, assessing me with shrewd eyes before nodding and stepping away. Dominic crossed the room with fluid grace, stopping before me. "You chose the burgundy," he observed, his voice low. "Perfect." Heat rose to my cheeks. "Thank you for the options. They're all beautiful. Beautiful clothes for a beautiful woman." He offered his arm. "Shall we? Your creations await unveiling." The touch of his hand over mine sent electricity through my veins as he guided me into the main hall. Heads turned as we entered, curious glances, raised eyebrows, speculative whispers. I straightened my spine, determined not to appear intimidated by the wealth and power surrounding us. "Everyone," Dominic announced, his voice carrying effortlessly across the room. "May I present Emma Parker, the artist responsible for tonight's dessert experience. Artist. Not baker or chef, but artist." The distinction wasn't lost on me, as appreciative murmurs rippled through the gathering. The evening progressed like a dream. My desserts were received with genuine admiration, guests approaching to compliment my work with the reverence usually reserved for fine art. Throughout it all, Dominic remained close, his hand occasionally brushing the small of my back, his presence both protective and possessive. "You've impressed some difficult people to impress," he murmured during a brief moment alone, nodding toward a group of elegantly dressed guests. "That woman has been trying to poach my head chef for months. Tonight, she asked for your contact information instead." Pride swelled in my chest. "What did you tell her?" Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. "That you're exclusively contracted to me." Before I could question the implication, we were interrupted by a commotion near the entrance. Raised voices carried across the room, followed by the appearance of two of Dominic's security personnel escorting a man I couldn't see clearly. Dominic's posture changed instantly, tension radiating from him as he stepped slightly in front of me. "Excuse me," he said, his voice clipped. "A security matter requires my attention." As he strode toward the disturbance, the crowd parted, revealing the source of the commotion. My blood turned to ice. Jake. My ex-husband stood between the security guards, disheveled but unmistakable. His gaze swept the room frantically until it landed on me. Recognition, then calculation crossed his features. "Emma," he called out, his voice carrying that false charm I knew too well. "Thank God. Tell them who I am." Conversations halted as all eyes turned to me. Dominic reached the group, his back to me as he addressed Jake in tones too low to hear. Whatever he said made Jake's face pale. I remained frozen, memories flooding back. Jake's promises, his disappearances, the empty bank account, Lily's tears when he missed her birthday. My feet moved of their own accord, carrying me toward the confrontation. "Emma, don't," someone cautioned, Paolo appearing at my elbow. Too late. I stood before them now, Jake's familiar face both hateful and pitiful. 6 months hadn't changed him. Same manipulative eyes, same charming smile that never reached them. "Emma, baby," he began, relief washing over his features. "There's been a huge misunderstanding." "What are you doing here, Jake?" I interrupted, my voice steadier than I felt. "Looking for you." He tried to step toward me, but the guards held him firmly. "I've been searching everywhere. Your sister said you might be working for some fancy client." His gaze darted between me and Dominic. I didn't realize how fancy. The insinuation in his tone made my cheeks burn. Dominic's expression darkened dangerously. "Mr. Parker was just leaving," he said, each word precise and chilling. "Weren't you?" Jake's false confidence wavered. "Not without my wife and daughter, ex-wife," I corrected. "And you gave up any right to call Lily your daughter when you emptied our bank account and disappeared." Dominic's gaze snapped to me, then back to Jake, something lethal gathering in his expression. "Take him out," he instructed the guards. "Ensure he understands the consequences of returning." As they began moving Jake toward the exit, desperation replaced his charm. "Emma, please. I'm in trouble, bad trouble. These guys I owe money to, they're going to kill me if I don't pay." The pieces clicked into place. Jake hadn't sought us out of regret or love. He needed money, and somehow he'd discovered I was working for a wealthy client. The realization was both painful and freeing. "That's not my problem anymore, Jake," I said softly. "Goodbye." As the guards removed him, his shouts echoing down the hallway, I became aware of the silence in the room, dozens of eyes watching the drama unfold. Humiliation washed over me. I'd brought chaos to Dominic's elegant gathering, exposed my messy personal life to his sophisticated guests. "Excuse me," I murmured, turning to flee. Dominic's hand caught mine, his grip gentle but firm. "Stay," he said, the word somewhere between command and plea. I looked up, expecting anger or disappointment. Instead, I found concern and something else, a possessive heat that made my breath catch. "Music," he called over his shoulder, and immediately the orchestra resumed playing, conversations gradually rekindling around us. The remainder of the evening passed in a blur. Dominic orchestrated a seamless recovery from Jake's intrusion, guiding conversations away from the incident with practiced ease. Still, I felt the curious glances, heard the whispered speculations. My fairy tale moment had shattered, reality intruding with Jake's desperate face and grasping hands. "I should check on Lily," I murmured to Dominic as the party began winding down near midnight. His hand at the small of my back was steadying, warm through the thin fabric of my dress. "I'll come with you." We slipped away as guests were occupied with final dessert selections. In the quiet corridor, away from watchful eyes, Dominic's demeanor shifted, the polished host replaced by something more primal, barely restrained. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice low and intimate in the dimly lit hallway. I nodded, unable to meet his gaze. "I'm sorry about Jake, about the scene he caused. You have nothing to apologize for." His fingers tilted my chin up, forcing me to look at him. "Your ex-husband's actions are not your responsibility. How did he find me?" The question had been gnawing at me since Jake appeared. Something flickered across Dominic's expression. A hesitation, then resolution. "I believe he's been looking for you since learning of your commission for the restaurant. The payment was substantial enough to attract attention. But how did he know I was here at your home?" Dominic's jaw tightened. "That's being investigated. Someone provided him information they shouldn't have." The dangerous edge in his voice reminded me sharply of who he was. Not just the charming host or the man who noticed chocolate on my cheek, but someone powerful enough to inspire genuine fear. We reached our suite to find Mrs. Winters dozing in an armchair while Lily slept peacefully in her bed, unaware of her father's brief reappearance in our lives. I thanked the housekeeper, who departed with a motherly pat to my hand and a knowing glance between Dominic and me. Once alone, Dominic moved to the sitting area window, staring out at the moonlit gardens. "Your ex-husband wasn't lying about being in trouble." The statement hung in the air, heavy with implication. I sank onto the sofa, suddenly exhausted. What kind of trouble? The kind men don't walk away from. He turned, moonlight casting half his face in shadow. He owes money to dangerous people. People who don't send collection notices. A chill ran through me. "How do you know this?" His smile was cold, nothing like the warm expressions he'd shown Lily. "I make it my business to know who might pose a threat to those under my protection." "Under your protection?" I repeated, confusion and something else, something warmer, blooming in my chest. I don't understand. Dominic crossed the room with fluid grace, settling beside me on the sofa, close enough that I could feel his heat but not quite touching. From the moment you walked into Rossi's with your masterpiece and your daughter clutching your hand. Something changed, Emma. His voice dropped lower. I saw a woman of extraordinary talent fighting battles she shouldn't have to fight alone. My heart raced as he continued, his words carefully measured. I arranged for your commission to be doubled. I created the opportunity for this weekend. I wanted to see you in my world, to understand who you are. He ran a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of uncertainty from a man who exuded control. What I didn't anticipate was how quickly you would come to matter to me. Matter to you? I echoed, scarcely believing what I was hearing. You don't even know me. I know enough. He reached for my hand, his touch sending electricity through my veins. I know you create beauty from nothing. I know you would sacrifice everything for your daughter. I know your strength, your determination. His thumb traced circles on my palm. And I know I'm not ready to let you walk away tomorrow. The confession hung between us, heavy with possibilities both thrilling and terrifying. This man, this powerful, dangerous man, wanted me to stay. But for what? As what? What are you asking, Dominic? My voice emerged as a whisper. Stay. The word was simple, direct. Not as an employee, not as a guest. Stay with me, you and Lily. Let me keep you safe, give you the security you deserve while you pursue your passion. Alarm bells rang in my mind, warning me of power imbalances, of dependencies that could become cages. I can't be kept, Dominic. I'm not a possession. That's not what I'm offering. His expression intensified. I'm offering partnership, protection, a chance for your talent to flourish without the weight of financial struggle. And yes, I'm offering myself, my home, my resources, my world. Why? The question escaped before I could stop it. Why me? You could have anyone. His laugh held no humor. I've had anyone, Emma. Beautiful women who wanted my money, my connections, the status of being on my arm. None of them saw me. The man behind the reputation, behind the power. His hand tightened around mine. You look at me differently. You challenge me. You're not intimidated by what I am. I don't even know what you are, I admitted. The rumors about your business dealings are partially true, he finished for me, unflinching. I won't insult your intelligence by pretending otherwise. My family's enterprises operate in gray areas of the law, but there are lines I don't cross, principles I adhere to. His gaze held mine, intense and unwavering. I will never lie to you, Emma, and I will never let harm come to you or Lily. The confession should have sent me running. Instead, I found myself drawn closer to his honesty, to the vulnerability beneath his controlled exterior. I can't answer now, I said finally. This is too sudden. Too much. He nodded, releasing my hand reluctantly. I understand. But know this. Whether you stay or go, Jake's debts have been settled. He won't trouble you again. The implication sent a chill down my spine. What did you do? Nothing irreversible, he assured me, a dangerous smile playing at his lips. Let's just say he's been given an opportunity to start fresh, very far away, with the understanding that approaching you or Lily again would be unwise. Relief and unease battled within me. The power Dominic wielded so casually was both frightening and seductive. He had eliminated a threat to us with a few words, a few calls. What else could he do? What else had he done? I should sleep, I murmured, overwhelmed by the evening's revelations. Tomorrow will be another long day. He stood, respecting my need for space. Of course. At the door he paused, looking back with an expression that made my heart stutter. Whatever you decide, Emma, the world should see your talent. I've arranged meetings with several influential people who expressed interest in your work tonight. They'll contact you next week, regardless of your answer to me. The thoughtfulness of the gesture, ensuring my professional advancement separate from his personal proposition, touched me deeply. Thank you. After he left, I checked on Lily once more before preparing for bed. As I removed the beautiful burgundy dress, I caught sight of myself in the mirror, cheeks flushed, eyes bright with confusion and possibility. The woman reflected back at me looked different somehow, stronger, more certain. Sleep eluded me as I weighed Dominic's offer against my instinct for independence. By dawn, I had made my decision. Morning found me in the kitchen, working alongside staff to package remaining desserts for guests' departures. Dominic appeared shortly after 9, impeccable as always, but with subtle signs of his own sleepless night, a tightness around his eyes, a certain tension in his shoulders. "May I speak with you?" I asked, wiping my hands on a towel. "Privately." He nodded, leading me to his study, a space I hadn't seen before, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a massive desk overlooking the gardens. Once the door closed behind us, I gathered my courage. "I can't stay," I began, watching his expression close off instantly. "Not on the terms you offered." He turned away, shoulders rigid with controlled disappointment. "I understand. Your independence is important to you." "Yes, it is," I agreed, moving closer. "Which is why I have a counteroffer." This caught his attention, bringing those intense eyes back to mine. "I'm listening." "I'll stay in the city, not here. I'll accept your introductions and pursue my career on my own merits." I took a steadying breath. "And I'll see you as an equal, not as someone kept or protected, but as a woman choosing to explore whatever this is between us." Hope flickered across his features, quickly controlled. "And Lily?" "Needs stability, not luxury. I've found a better apartment that I can afford with the payment for this weekend." I smiled slightly, though I imagine she'll miss the horses. "She can visit them any time," he said quickly, then paused. "This counteroffer, it's not a rejection, it's a beginning," I clarified. "On my terms. Equal footing, as much as possible between people from such different worlds." He considered this, calculation and desire warring in his gaze. Finally, he stepped closer, one hand rising to cup my cheek. "I find your terms acceptable, Emma Parker." The kiss, when it came, was gentle at first, a question, an exploration, before deepening into something that made my knees weak and my pulse race. His arms encircled me, strong and secure, as mine wound around his neck, pulling him closer. When we broke apart, breathless, his eyes had darkened with desire and something deeper, more profound. "I should warn you," he murmured against my lips. "I'm possessive of what matters to me, and patient enough to wait until you're ready to stay completely." "I should warn you," I countered. "I don't surrender easily, and I'll never be completely tamed." His laugh rumbled through his chest against mine. "I would expect nothing less." 3 months later, my bakery opened in a trendy district of the city, a small but elegant shop specializing in custom creations for elite clientele. The investment had come from a consortium of business owners who'd attended Dominic's party, impressed by my work. If they knew their decision had been influenced by a certain powerful businessman, they never mentioned it. Lily flourished in her new school, making friends and growing more confident each day. Our apartment, while modest compared to Villa Castellano, was bright and secure, with enough space for her to have her own room decorated with horse figurines, gifts from frequent visits to Dominic's stables. As for Dominic and me, we navigated our complex relationship carefully, my independence balanced against his instinct to protect and possess. His dangerous world kept separate from the sanctuary I created for Lily. Some evenings found us at the villa, others at my apartment, where he seemed almost charmed by the simplicity. The whispers followed us, of course, the Mafia boss and the baker, Beauty and the Beast. I ignored them, knowing the truth was both simpler and more complex than anyone could imagine. On Lily's 6th birthday, Dominic arrived with a special gift: paperwork for a small pony, stabled at his estate, but belonging entirely to her. As she squealed with delight, he caught my eye across the room, his expression softening in a way reserved only for us. Later that night, with Lily asleep amid new toys, he held me close on the balcony of our apartment, the city lights glittering below. "Move in with me," he murmured against my hair. "You and Lily. The bakery is established now. Your reputation secured." I turned in his arms, searching his face. No longer the cold, intimidating man I'd first met, but not entirely tamed either. Dangerous still, but with a softness reserved for the private world we'd created together. On one condition, I replied, my fingers tracing the strong line of his jaw. His eyebrow arched questioningly. Name it. No more secrets. Full disclosure about your business, your family, everything. He tensed slightly, then relaxed with a resigned sigh. You drive a hard bargain, Emma Parker. Equal footing, I reminded him. Always. His answer came in the form of a kiss, deep and promising, sealing a deal more binding than any contract. 6 years ago, I had been a struggling single mother selling a cake to survive. Now I was a woman who had found strength in vulnerability, who had chosen my own path while accepting the protection and love of a dangerous man who looked at me as though I were the most precious thing in his world. Not a possession, but a choice. His choice, my choice. Renewed each day as we built something neither of us had expected to find. The cake that brought us together had long since been consumed, its beauty preserved only in photographs. But what remained, what continued to grow between us, was something far more lasting, more complex, and infinitely more satisfying than anything I could ever create in my kitchen.